This is another question that I had from too many people to list, but basically, there's a lot of outrage conversation about the MVP right now. It's something that is frustrating me a little bit, to say the least. Um, so people are basically asking, why is Allen getting so much more love over Lamar for MVP, and do we think that Lamar still has a chance to win it? Dawson, we'll start with you. Just any of your thoughts on this situation going on right now?
This is literally the topic of the town in the NFL, man. And it's crazy when you have guys who are literally part of the panel who votes for MVP coming on Twitter and saying, this race is over. Josh Allen won it. And we still have 3 weeks of football. The MVP has always been an award that on a week to week basis, it changes. Favorites drastically change. And I'm not going to sit here and claim either one should win MVP. They're respectively the two best quarterbacks in football, with Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, of course. And all I'm going to say is I think Josh Allen being, I think what, minus 900 favorite currently to win MVP is absolutely just bizarre. I mean, that is a lock to win it at this point. I mean, there's no way he doesn't win the MVP. It's kind of sad, and I'm not going to sit here and advocate for a guy to win it. And I would love to see Lamar Jackson win his third MVP, and I think this is by far the best season of his career yet. And I would say it's probably going to get gifted away from him because I truly think that voter fatigue is a thing in this world, and I do think that that is going to be a large part as to why Josh Allen is crowned his first MVP. And I'm just going to say that it's not a stat award, too. It's not an award that whoever has the best stats is automatically an MVP winner. That's not how it works. And it's the value to your team, of course. I will say that Lamar Jackson won the MVP last year. The Ravens finished 14-3. We finished last year, and his and Josh Allen's stats were very comparable. I will also say that Josh Allen had, I think, 25 turnovers or something like that. It was a crazy amount of turnovers. So people are sitting here and saying that, oh, last year Lamar won MVP, and it's kind of the same situation to Josh Allen right now. Best team record, stats are good, not the best. Last year, Josh Allen had the most turnovers in the NFL. That's why he didn't win MVP, because he was valuable, but he also turned the ball over way too many times. And that will lose you the reward or the award 100%. So it's undoubtedly a close race. And I think it's absolutely wrong and unjustified as to why Josh Allen is such a heavy favorite to this point, when realistically, the teams are both doing great. I mean, obviously the Bills are better than us right now record wise, but Lamar Jackson is having a fantastic season, dude. And we're only a couple stupid little things away from having pretty much the same record as the Bills. So I think both of them are deserving of it, but the gap between them right now is far too undeserved.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with that one there. Just a little something I was thinking about while you were talking, Dawson. I mean, minus 900 favorite is crazy. But when you think about it, the odds makers in Vegas, they always have their ear to the streets, right? And this is one of those things where, since it is voted on by the AP, the Associated Press, I'm thinking the odds makers are probably getting the scoop from some people that are involved with that, some of the voters. I mean, you have guys like Dan Orlovsky, who is a voter himself, Emmanuel Acho, who's a voter himself, who will publicly come out and talk about these things and like what their opinions are on are who, are on who they think should win it. So I think with that being said, it's kind of it seems like he's a shoe-in now, and minus 900 always seems like a shoe-in. But the thing that really trips me up about this whole MVP conversation is that Lamar Jackson is having an even better season this year than his first MVP campaign in 2019, right? This season is actually better statistically. And it's funny because Josh Allen is such a heavy favorite over him. I'm really thinking it's just all politics, right? Because think about this. Do we think that Josh Allen is going to win MVP unanimously this year? Because
Mm,
because I would think
No.
that if Josh Allen is having a more impressive season than Lamar Jackson's 2024 season and 2019 season, then it would just be unanimous, hands down. There's no other reason to pick Lamar Jackson for MVP. Let's go with Josh Allen. But there's a lot of question marks there, and honestly, this is one of the many reasons why I love the NFL. Right, the parity is just so close, and the fact that we're able to even have these conversations because there's arguments both ways, legitimate arguments both ways. Right, Josh Allen this year has gone out and beaten the number one seed in the AFC and the NFC, right? Knocked off the Chiefs when they were undefeated, knocked off the Lions when everybody thought that they were on top of the world, right? Dan Campbell and those boys biting off kneecaps. They went in there and gave those boys the business in Detroit, you know? So I think that those 2 wins right there are absolutely just huge. And it's really like a quarterback wins, you know, sort of thing. I look back to last year when Lamar Jackson kind of wrapped up the MVP, right? It was the Christmas Day game against the San Francisco 49ers. When he went out there and did what he did, had that performance, the whole world just kind of said, okay, that's the MVP. Because a lot of people were picking San Francisco to win that football game at the time. I remember. So, like I said, the argument can go both ways. I still do think that Lamar Jackson should win the MVP, mainly because, again, his stats are even better than the 2019 campaign, and people regard that as one of the best quarterback campaigns regular season of all time. And Lamar Jackson continues to top that. So it's literally just voter fatigue. It's politics. But honestly, and I'll wrap my statement up with this. I couldn't care any less about another Lamar Jackson MVP award, right? We're looking towards higher heights than that. We're looking towards Super Bowl MVP. That's the only type of MVP that I want to see Lamar Jackson winning at this specific time in his career. I mean, regular season MVP, cool. If you were to get the MVP3, if you finish out the season, you know, if he goes into if he beats Pittsburgh, throws another Jackson 5, right? And then Christmas Day against the Texans, I'll actually be at that game. If he throws another Jackson 5 there, you know what I'm saying? Then sure, maybe we can talk. But as of right now, let us kind of sit back in the shadows, be the underdogs. Lamar Jackson, you know, nobody's really talking about him. Let them big up Josh Allen and the Bills, right? And we'll see him in the playoffs.
You guys nailed that. I love that. Even Gerardo in the comments, you know, that 4th best passer rating of all time as of right now. The statistics are just mind blowing. Whenever it's a new updated list of Josh's and Lamar's right next to each other, and every single time it's been Lamar's being better, it's like, it's really about the wins. It really is. And given that the Bills have beat the best AFC team, the best NFC team, it's just obvious, right? I don't want this to sound homery, okay? I'm just going to say it because I believe it. I don't think Josh Allen is a top 2 quarterback this year. I think Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow have had better seasons. Maybe the record, you know, has been rougher, but Burrow is lights out. His team just can't win. Lamar Jackson is lights out. His team has won just a little bit more. And then Josh is over there with a fantastic all-around team. Now, last year, Lamar was kind of in the same boat. He had the stats that were not the number 1 stuff, but he had an amazing team around him that led them to a number 1 seed. So we see very obviously how the media and the sports betting stuff and everyone is seeing how Josh is the MVP. But I love what you brought up, Sutton. I don't think it's unanimous. And that means that it's still not necessarily up for grabs, but remember when Jared Goff throws 5 picks in a game just a few weeks ago, and his name was fully out of the hat gone. It's nowhere near it, even with a 12-2 record. So, you know, something like that happens. That's why it's not, you know, minus 10,000 or something right now. It's not over. It's not called race, but the reason that it's minus 9,000 instead of, you know, minus 5,000 or something crazy is because Lamar's stats are that amazing, and keeping him that close into it, it is just ridiculous. And I just wanted to throw in that little Burrow thing because I saw someone compare the stats with all of them. And really, if you just take away all the rushing statistics, even if you take away Lamar's, even if you take away Josh's, those 3 compared to each other, it's like these are the best 3 in the league. But I think Josh's rushing touchdowns, 11 of them is ridiculous, but 11 of them are really propelling him with the stats and have definitely given him an edge along with obviously winning.
Yeah, especially when the majority of them are tush pushes on the 1 yard line. And I think it's a really good point you brought up, Zach, too, is that Joe Burrow is arguably the best quarterback in football this season. As much as us Ravens fans hate to see him succeed, the dude is incredible. And he's got amazing stats, and he's not even considered like a top 5 candidate for MVP. Like, he's not even on the grid for MVP. Like, you don't see him anywhere. And it's because of the wins. It's like you guys said, it's literally because of the wins. And I'm not discrediting that whatsoever. What the Bills and Josh Allen have done this season is absolutely incredible. beating the Chiefs, beating the Lions, just whooping teams, beating them to the ground. That's incredible. And, we have to admit that's probably why, like Sutton said, a big reason why Lamar won MVP last year was we had a lot of big time dominant wins against really good teams that were Super Bowl contenders. And that absolutely factors into the MVP vote. So I think it's 100%, like Sutton said, we all said this whole time, it's a lot of voter fatigue. It's a lot of people wanting to push this out that Josh Allen's also another great quarterback and future Hall of Famer that deserves an MVP. And all the people that say he got robbed of his last year, now you can kind of say potentially Lamar Jackson will be robbed of an MVP. But I also like the fact that we pointed out we don't care if Lamar wins another MVP, dude. He's going to win another MVP at one point in his career. The dude could finish his career with 4 or 5. Who knows? So every year he's played, he's been in the run, top 3 candidate for it. So I'm not really worried about MVP, and I really just want a Super Bowl. I think that's all kind of what we're focused on.
Can I add the quick whipped cream and cherry on top? This is the best tweet I saw today because I felt this way. Week 4, Ravens destroy the Bills.
Yeah.
Destroy them. Is there a recency bias? Like, is that just out the window now? Is that just gone? I mean, Think about the race right now. If next week that game happens, oh my gosh, it's flipped on its head, right? It has to be. I mean, Josh didn't play well. Lamar plays good. I mean, not great, but I mean, they dominate the game completely. Think about that kind of shakeup in the race, and it happened. It's just way back then, right? Like, I don't know whether to.
They
like
swept
it. No one is talking about that type of stuff. Sarah Ellison tweeted, I saw that. That was awesome.
I think it really comes down to, what you do when the MVP talks heat up. I think that's when it's most important because like I mentioned before, like Lamar Jackson really wrapped it up in late December on Christmas Day. When the talks really heat up and they're really trying to figure out, okay, who is this award going to go to this year? Regular season is dwindling down. Like we got to give it to somebody. And down the stretch, Josh Allen has had the bigger, more signature wins. You know what I'm saying? And I think if we would have beat the Steelers and we'd have beat the Eagles, we might be having a different conversation, or at least one of those teams. If we'd have beat one of those teams, we'd be having a different conversation. But yeah, that's where I'm gonna go. It's about what you do when the talks really start to heat up.
I agree.
I saw something that said Josh Allen needs to chip off a piece of his MVP trophy and ship it to Justin Tucker, which I thought was funny because I mean, how many? And not to go back to the Justin Tucker stuff, but I would say, I mean, he's missed a field goal in every loss. I'd say he's at least you probably chalk it up to like 2 or 3 losses away if you were to make every kick. So like the Ravens could easily be sitting at like, what are they? 9-5. They could easily be like 11. They could have like the same record as the Bills right now.
We should have 11
with a couple more made field goals. The point about the Bills Ravens game earlier is a good one. I mean, and you guys are also making points about, Allen's last 2 games compared to like the Ravens game against the Niners on Christmas last year. And I think the Ravens game against the Niners on Christmas last year is even more significant because weren't the Niners favored by like 7 or something like that? Like no one was even picking the Ravens to win that game. I remember you guys probably know the Mike Florio stuff with Lamar and all that, but I mean, random, but I can't believe that's a year ago. That's like insane.
Yeah.
But I'm sort of known on this podcast and in the Ravens community as I like Lamar a little bit more than even the normal Ravens fans. So I'll disagree with you guys a little bit. I still want him to get the MVP. like, I still want that very badly for him. Because I was actually talking, my dad and my sister were talking about it to me yesterday. Like, why do you care? He already has 2. Josh Allen doesn't even have 1. And I was like, well, I want Lamar to have 3 instead of Lamar has 2 and Allen has 1. Like, that's how I feel about it. And like, obviously, I would much rather a Super Bowl, but like, why not both? You know what I mean? Like, come on now. But what sort of annoys me is I was watching the Stay Hot Pod with like Theo Ash and Bladen and them, and they were mentioning how Nance and Romo at the end of the Bills-Lions game were like, is this locked up? Is Allen like locked up the MVP? And they were like, Saquon, but he wasn't that great today. They didn't even mention Lamar. It was like, Saquon, but they were like, nah, but Allen's probably got it. And you see on like talk shows this week where it's like Lamar's not even being mentioned. And I think for the Ravens, that's a good thing. But this is something that Lamar and Ravens fans have sort of been going through this whole time period where, I don't know if you guys remember, but like 21 and 22, like, yes, he was injured, but he was like outside of top 10 quarterback rankings in those 2 seasons. And it was, I mean, that just like made me pretty frustrated at the time. And it's just, I feel like the disrespect like probably won't ever end. I don't know. I feel like it should be a neck and neck race right now. And it's not even like no one's even mentioning Lamar. And that's sort of how I feel about it. I don't know. I feel like if Allen's gonna go 3-0 these next 3 games. He plays the Patriots twice and the Jets.
Of course.
But like if Lamar, let's say Lamar has like 8 touchdowns over the next 2 games and they win both, I think he has like a chance to win it. I think if Lamar does go off these next 3 games, even 2 of the 3, and the Ravens go 3-0, I think it might be one of those situations where like we actually don't know who's going to win MVP until like it's announced at the NFL Honors. I think we could be in for that type of situation.
That would be crazy. I'd be sweating.
Just one more thing to add on to it. I think that Christmas Day game is going to be big as well. You know, the whole world, literally the whole world will be watching. It's going to be on Netflix too. So everyone's going to be watching that one. If Lamar Jackson goes out in that game, and like you said, maybe those 4 touchdown passes, has a really, really good performance, then yeah, I could see the talks kind of heating back up towards Lamar Jackson, just kind of like a buzzer beater campaign, like just at the very end. But yeah, we can move on from that. I'm sorry.
I mean, the odds should definitely shrink and not be minus 900.
Yeah. That's just ridiculous, to be honest with you.
I mean, I don't know about you guys, but watching the Giants game, once Lamar threw that 5th touchdown to Hill, I was like, oh, we're going to have like an MVP. Like, it's going to be back into like a 50-50. And just no one ever talked about it. I was like, okay.
The Giants effect.
Yeah.